What's up, y'all? I was just sitting here talking to myself, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this is a word. A word want to come through. I'm gonna have to go on ahead and share it." I was on a talk today with a feminist book club, and um, someone asked a question that I've heard lots of times, and today was the first time that I think I really got a chance to kind of flesh out my answer. And the question was about my thoughts on cancel culture, right? And like, how do we meet compassion and cancel culture? Right? Like, how do we reconcile radical self-love and cancel culture? Here's the deal. This is what it is that I'm starting to come to. And I think this speaks a little bit to what I was talking about inside of my idea about call on, right? And calling on over calling out or calling in, right? Some of what we're calling cancel culture is a knee-jerk response to whiteness being called out about being a whiteness. Some of this is a knee-jerk response. Hey, you ever notice how we didn't care when we was canceling, when folks was canceling OJ, and be clear, I thought OJ did it, but that's not the point. The point was when we were completely erasing and maligning and, ending the careers of Black people. There was no word for that, right? It was just, you disappeared, right? Nobody was calling it cancel culture. And cancel culture didn't start getting the language of culture until mostly white people in power started being held to account for their behaviors and actions. And so I want to push back a little bit while holding a radical self-love framework. I want to push back a little bit on the idea that cancel culture, I want to push back on the places where we have made cancel culture a synonym for accountability. Because here's the deal. Accountability and consequences are real. And they are just part of being human and inside of the human experience. Now, the question of what should consequences look like, I think can speak some to cancel culture. And like, do we always have to do the harshest thing, right? But sometimes there are things, and I've given this example before. There are things that warrant what we call cancellation. Harvey Weinstein appropriately canceled. And what I mean by cancel is removed from the positions of power that he historically used to create abuse and harm. Sequestered so that he could no longer engage in the same level of abuse and harm that he historically engaged in and was able to based off of his positionality and power. Right? And so there are times when people are being canceled from things that are appropriate. They are doing things that indicate that it's the way they're thinking, the way they're moving, the way they're behaving. For them to continue to hold the level of privilege, power, positionality that they hold would only create greater harm. And that actually what they need to do is step down and think about some shit, get some shit in order, figure out what had them go so far off the rails. Sometimes being given a timeout, because for the most part, let us be clear. Even in the case of a Harvey Weinstein, who is filthy friffin' rich, right? And no amount of lawsuits is going to bankrupt him. The entire system is set up to absorb that, right? What he's been asked to do is stop doing the shit he was doing prayerfully so that he could go focus on getting himself together. Prayerfully, I would call that an opportunity, a gift, right? If you are caught doing something egregious and violent and horrible, right? Or something that is clearly an abuse of your status and your power, right? Or says that you, inside of your status and power, can cause certain people significant harm based off of your ideas and beliefs. Yes, you need to sit down. You should not be doing that until you deal with that thing. The woman who got canceled, I can't even remember her name anymore, years ago. She was one of the earliest canceled people. She cracked a joke about, you know, about Africa and AIDS. And by the time she got off the plane in Africa, she had lost her job and all the other things. Right. I would offer that particular painful breakdown of her existence was a necessary and essential part of her evolution. And so I want us to be mindful that we are not, again, like utilizing these new terms of wokeness as ways to absolve people from the consequences of their behaviors. Nor are we using it as a way to absolve particular groups who hold dominance and power from actually having to stand in the discomfort of accountability. Because white supremacy will make up a whole thing and then tell you that's what you're doing so that you could leave it alone. Whiteness is very, very savvy in avoiding accountability. And so accountability and consequences are not cancel culture. Now so let me give you some context. If 20 years ago you wrote a really fucked up tweet and now we want to fire you, that's cancel culture, right? We should ask you how your opinions and thoughts evolved and what you've done to rectify the harm. But no, your whole life shouldn't blow up because you did something 20 years ago. But if yesterday you got caught on camera, accosting a person in Target, calling people racial slurs, being wildly transphobic or, racist or ableist or whatever the case may be, we should consider the ways in which, one, you should have to be accountable to that. And there may be things that you are involved in your life that are not appropriate for you to be involved in as long as you hold those particular ideas and beliefs. And you might need a reckoning around those and a timeout to go and have that reckoning. That's called life, boo. That's not cancel culture. That's consequences and accountability. And we need to get specific and understand the distinction between the two. So, carry on. I don't think we need to be canceled. I support not canceling humans. I also support accountability and consequences and timeouts. And a timeout isn't a cancellation. A timeout is I used to get timeouts all the time. Go sit your ass in your room and think about the decisions you've made. Get yourself real clear about the about the thought process that went into that decision that has now created negative outcomes in your life. Go think about that. And guess what? The universe gives me those timeouts as a whole grown person. And I would offer, if you said something, did something so egregious that now there is cause for you to have to be in timeout, it's probably a gift. It's probably an opportunity for you to reevaluate how you've been in the world and find a new, more loving, more just, more compassionate way for yourself and for the rest of the world for you to show up. Those are my thoughts. Bye.